Sameach. Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach. It should be a Chag Sameach. It needs to be a Chag Sameach. And what I learned about being Israeli is that Chag Sameach feels very different when you're Israeli. When you're American, you say Chag Sameach, you know, something happened, you know, it wasn't good. Maybe it even happened to some people you know, or even some people you're related to, but it's all the way over there in Israel. And it's not for us. It's right here. Although in Pardes, Hanna, not so much. It's a little bit different. We only recently just experienced our first sirens here. But having a Chag Sameach, living with a Chag Sameach, a joyful Chag, and having something deep within you to have that joy, and balance it with what we experienced just under a year ago. I understand that October 7th passed, but Simchas Torah did not yet pass. That's the date. And how do we have a Chag Sameach? And what have we learned from all of this? So thank you for asking that question. A lot of people ask me, because I've now flown around the world a lot and spoken to many audiences, and they always ask, are you nervous? And I'm not, in general I'm not, but today I'm feeling something, and I think it's a lot of emotions. There are a lot of emotions around what happened, and I think for the first time, if you want to know what I learned what it means to be Israeli. Somebody said to me a year ago, when everything happened, a week, 2 weeks later, they said, is this your first war? I said, well, you know, like, I don't know, a year before that we had 4,000 rockets. They go, nah, that was just a little situation. Is this your first war? I said, yeah. They said, this is my fourth. I've been here however many years, and this is my fourth war. I said, okay, right. This is what it means to be Israeli. And how do we take this and then go on and live our lives? How do you wake up tomorrow with a smile? How do you wake up tomorrow and go to work? And how do you even function to be here a year later at a simcha, at a beautiful festival with your community, when still there are people that aren't even yet home with their community? So a year ago, I'm going to take you back 2 years actually. 2 years ago, on Simchas Torah, I didn't know, but you guys have, we now have, second dancing. There's like not Friday night, there's nighttime dancing, there's daytime dancing, and then the Chag goes out, and you're like, great, you go back to life. Nah, I don't know about all your shuls, but the Chamama, we have another round of dancing. Does everybody do that, or is it just the Chamama? Everybody does it in Israel, it's an Israel thing? Great, fine, so 2 years ago I figured that out, that we do another round of dancing. And this one, you can bring your camera, you can have your phone. And I took and I have incredible photos from 2 years ago on Simchas Torah of the men and the women, not just dancing with it, and the women holding and hugging and kissing the Torah and crying. And the men dancing and singing in circle upon circle upon circle. And I said, wow. I mean, I thought the first round of dancing was good, and I thought the morning dancing was great. I didn't even know there was like another level of a round of dancing. And a year later, October 2023, I said, you know what? I have to fly and I have to go to America after Chag, like right after Chag. And my travel agent said, okay, I've got a flight, it's on October 7th. You'll fly out, Chag goes out, and you'll go out. I said, I can't leave. He said, why? I said, I got second round of dancing. I gotta go back. He's like, are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, book it on the 8th. I'm not leaving on the 7th. He said, okay, you'll leave on the 8th. It flies out, you know, the midnight flight. I said, great, I'll take that flight. A year ago, I was confronted with the question of whether or not I should get on that flight. My flight was an El Al flight. So the first message I really learned, if you want to get in or out of this country, you fly El Al. Okay? I'm not paid to say this yet. Do you have any connections to it? If you have any, I've heard people are somehow, some way, sometimes, but not really. But if you really want to get in or out, you tell your family and friends, if you want to see me, you book El Al. If you don't book El Al, you don't fly. I had a flight. And I said to my husband, everybody in America, all the people I'm going to see are in second day Yontif. I can't call them to say, are we going to have a program? Because I'm flying over. So I spoke to him, I spoke with our rabbi, and I said, do I go to the airport? Like, is the train running? Am I supposed to, like, October 8th, am I supposed to wake up and go to fly to go on tour? And is that really a job you should be doing now? Like, now you're Israeli, you live here. And my husband looked at me and he's like, this is your mission. This is what you do. What do you mean, do you go? You got soldiers, they're fighting for the land, and you're fighting for the future of the Jewish people. You're building more families. You have to go. You're obligated to go. You're getting on the plane. If they fly, you fly. And I'm like, oh, really? I was terrified. I mean, first war, and I got on the train, which was working. I'm like, why is it working? For soldiers. That's why it's working, to transport them. So it's me and a bunch of guys with guns and ladies with guns and a few other people with suitcases and nobody else on the train. And I'm thinking in my head, where should I sit? I don't know what your mentality is, but learning to be Israeli, I'm like, first car, last car, middle car. If somebody could get on, should I hide in the back? Should I sit on the floor? Do you think I should put my suitcase in front of me? Aleeza, your suitcase is not bulletproof. All these things are running through my head as I get on the train. I get to the airport. It is a sea of people. Thousands of people camped out, sleeping at the airport because they didn't fly El Al. Their flights were all canceled. And they are waiting for the next available flight. And it was one of the safest places to be because they guard it pretty well. And I'm thinking, am I going to even get on this plane? I get on the plane. They tell us it's going to take off. I'm like bawling. And they're like, by the way, we're just going to reroute. Instead of the normal way that we kind of like just fly out, we're going to like fly over, up, and out. Just to let you know. But like, it's all good. And I'm like, okay, I'm crying. Weird. And Israelis just go on about their daily lives. And I also learned that if you're in a situation in the area that has a crisis, you deal with crisis. And if you're in Pardes Hanna, you take people in, because you're not in crisis. You're in crisis, but you're not in crisis. You just house people, or feed people, or help them get to place. Or you take the vests that Maynard shipped in and you drive them somewhere, and you get them to the people that need them. But if you're not really in crisis, you're not supposed to behave like you're in crisis. Like, our city was labeled green. It brought me back to the Corona teas. It's like, oh, you're green. I was like, you want me to send my kids to school? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, what if something happens? They're like, lay down, wait 10 minutes. I was like, that's the advice. That's it. And recently, a week or two ago, I was in a supermarket in Pardes Hanna. For the first time, there was a siren that went off in the supermarket. And I'm like, and I'm looking around, the lady's phone is buzzing, everybody's phone is buzzing, and all of a sudden, it was a slow thing. It wasn't like everybody went running. And I was like, they're like, can, bo. I'm like, yeah, I'm worried about my groceries. Like, just leave them here. Like, don't take them. They're like, Aleeza, nobody's restocking, you know, just leave it. And I'm like, okay. So we very calmly walk to the back. Everybody squeezes into the shelter, you know, all 67 of us. And I was like, okay. I think they waited 7 minutes. I don't think they waited 10. And they're like, Beseda, come, let's go. That's it. They open the coupa, they open the register, everybody goes back shopping. My cart's right where I left it with all my stuff. And that's life. Like, what did I learn? I learned that if there's a crisis, you deal with the crisis and you don't panic. You handle it the best that you can handle it and surround yourself with good people. And if there's not really a crisis, but there's a crisis going on, you can be support staff, so to speak, and you handle what you need to handle. And if you're not super in crisis, your job is actually to live a normal, happy, healthy life to the best of your ability, because you doing that and me doing that empowers the rest of the country. And you realize when you look at the news, or you realize what other people are seeing in the news, it looks like everything is just exploding all over, everywhere, 100% of the time. And when you live here, you're like, it's not like that. And people are like, no, you just don't know. And you're like, no, I live here. I know. This year we had a big debate. Do we go to Yerushalayim or don't we go to Jerusalem? Last year we went to Jerusalem. We walked around on October, I think, 4th, 5th, maybe we left the 6th to come home for everything. And we said, great, let's go. It's like a very festive atmosphere. Ben Yehuda is hopping and happening. The hotel is like Shazam. And I was like, but do we go? And I was like, well, you know, like a lot of people can just get into an accident on the road. Like probably the biggest danger is just getting in the car driving there. That's really the biggest danger. And I was like, good, we'll take the train. That's it. Fine. So we take the train and we go to Jerusalem. And it's weird because I'm feeling like I should be feeling a little more nervous than I'm feeling. And everybody's just happy. And I'm like, do I dare to walk on Ben Yehuda? Like, because like there's been things that have happened in places and there's been people all over. And I was like, yeah, we just go about normal until it's really not normal. And then we deal with that and then we go back to normal. And I think I learned that being Israeli, being a sabra, you know how they always say they're tough on the outside, and they're really matok and sweet and soft on the inside. It is so true. We are so strong, and we are so tough, and we have to be that way. And we fight back, and sometimes I ask myself, because now I argue with people. I was arguing with a lady from the bank the other day, and she was all nice to me. I thought I was in America for a minute. She was like, I'm trying in my best Hebrew to tell her, like, this isn't gonna happen. She's like, just calm down. We'll work it out. I'm like, they never say that. I'm like, I'm the angry one. Afterwards, I'm like, I'm sorry. But we learn to be so tough. And in only being here 3.5 years, I've learned to be really tough, to stand up for myself, to stand up for us, for the Jewish people, and at the same time, not to lose the sweetness, not to lose the chesed, not to lose the everything of who we are as the Jewish people, and to be able to share that message. And for me, one of the hardest things is that my mission and my job requires me to now leave this country often. I was out of the country 12 times, 13 times in the last year and a half. It's weird. I worked really, really hard to get here, and part of my mission is to actually lead, and like the rabbi said about being the light, being those rays of light, that's our job. We have to project that light back to the world. We have to get all the support that we need, because the rest of the country needs our help. And so I want to give a blessing to each and every one of us, that whatever your mission is, that you accomplish it, that you should be successful all along the way, and that every effort that you do, you should see the recognition that you receive, and you should be blessed to double your efforts.